In the cutthroat, sun-drenched world of Los Angeles influencers, friendships are more than just personal bonds. They are meticulously constructed brands, multi-million-dollar business partnerships, and, in some cases, volatile empires in the making. For years, the Tana Mongeau friend group was the undisputed royal family of this digital world, with Tana herself reigning as its chaotic, unpredictable, and endlessly fascinating queen. Their primary vehicle to the masses was the canceled podcast, a show that felt less like a structured production and more like a raw public therapy session where millions of devoted fans listened in to every confession, every chaotic story, and every veiled insult. They built an empire on the bedrock of what they sold as radical transparency and ride-or-die loyalty. But what happens when the very foundation of that empire, that supposed unbreakable bond, proves to be nothing more than a fragile house of cards ready to collapse at the slightest gust of wind? Recently, that empire didn't just crack, it violently shattered into a million pieces right in front of our eyes. The official story, a carefully crafted PR narrative, blames the anonymous trolls and the relentless hate of the internet. But the truth is a far more compelling, complex, and human story of unchecked ambition, quiet betrayal, and the cold, hard reality that in the ruthless business of fame, everyone is ultimately replaceable. Tonight, we're not just recapping drama, we are conducting a deep forensic post-mortem on the spectacular collapse of an influencer dynasty. We will explore every crack, every power move, and every calculated statement to understand how it all went so wrong. The first major sign that the Tana Mongeau empire was structurally failing came not with a dramatic, explosive bang, but with a carefully worded, almost deceptively simple statement. When Brooke Schofield, Tana's longtime co-host and confidant, officially announced the end of the canceled podcast, she cited the relentless and overwhelming hate from the public as the primary cause. For a casual observer, this explanation made perfect sense. The internet can be a brutal place, but for those who understood the Tana Mongeau brand and the ecosystem in which it thrived, it was the equivalent of a seasoned rock star saying their world tour was canceled due to excessively loud noises. Tana Mongeau didn't just survive controversy and public opinion, she metabolized it. She built her entire career on navigating public perception, good or bad, turning every scandal into a new chapter, every criticism into content. The hate wasn't a new phenomenon. It was the constant, humming background music of the show itself. The real, more fascinating story was written between the lines of their on-screen interactions for months leading up to the announcement. The visible tension was becoming impossible to ignore. The power dynamics were shifting in real time, episode by episode. Brooke, who started as a relative unknown and was often positioned as the more grounded sidekick to Tana's whirlwind persona, was evolving. She was no longer just a co-host. She was a star in her own right, with her own dedicated fan base, her own brand deals, and her own distinct voice. The podcast that had once been their shared platform was now struggling to contain two different and increasingly divergent brands. It became clear that their goals were no longer aligned. Brooke seemed to be building a more curated, aspirational lifestyle brand, while Tana remained committed to the chaotic, unfiltered persona that made her famous. The canceled podcast wasn't a victim of the internet. It was a victim of its own success and the incompatible ambitions of its creators. The friendship had become a business, and the business was no longer good for both parties. With the podcast, the central pillar of their empire, gone, the battlefield shifted from the recording studio to the intricate and unforgiving social circles of Los Angeles. And this is where the strategic moves became truly ruthless and fascinating to watch. The most significant and telling development was the sudden, hyper-public alliance formed between Paige Lorenze, one of Tana's closest and most loyal friends, and BB, Brooke's recently and bitterly estranged former best friend and assistant. Before the dramatic fallout, the bond between Brooke and BB was legendary. They were an inseparable unit, a constant presence in each other's lives and content. Their sudden split was a shock, but what came next was the true power play. Paige's new, intense friendship with BB felt less like a natural coincidence and more like a calculated move in a high-stakes game of social chess. The endless stream of perfectly curated TikToks, the pointedly happy Instagram stories, the public appearances together. It wasn't just two friends having fun, it was a public performance of shifting loyalties, designed to send a clear and unmistakable message. Sides have been chosen, and the power has shifted. This strategic move effectively and brutally isolated Brooke, framing her as an outcast from the very group she was once considered a core member of. It was a masterclass in modern social warfare, demonstrating that in this hyper-competitive world, alliances are a form of currency, and loyalty is a commodity that can be publicly traded to consolidate power and control the narrative. The message was not just for Brooke, but for the entire influencer ecosystem. The Queen's court was reorganizing, and you were either with it or against it. And where was the Queen while these strategic moves were being made in her name? On her home turf. Tana Mongeau, in a move worthy of a political strategist, adopted a public position of masterful, almost suspicious neutrality. When confronted with the swirling drama online, her carefully crafted public stance was that she was simply not involved and was choosing to remain above the fray. She claimed in a public comment that the deep personal lore between Brooke and BB was entirely their own affair and that she, in her current phase of life, lacked the capacity for drama. This statement, however, was widely interpreted by online commentators not as a genuine sign of maturity or a desire for peace, but as a display of ultimate, untouchable power. By refusing to officially engage or pick a side, she positioned herself as the immovable center of her own universe, around which all other bodies were forced to orbit and, in this case, violently collide. It's a brilliant gambit that allows her to reap the benefits of the drama's massive engagement and speculation while maintaining a veneer of plausible deniability. It protects her brand from being directly implicated in the messiness of the conflict. This calculated performance of neutrality leaves everyone asking the same compelling question. Is Tana truly above it all, a helpless victim of her friends' dramatic squabbles? Or is she the quiet puppet master, the brilliant director of the entire show, silently guiding the chaos from behind the curtain to ensure the spotlight, no matter what, remains firmly on her? To fully grasp the magnitude of this collapse, it's crucial to understand that this isn't just a personal squabble over hurt feelings. It's a multi-million-dollar business divorce. Tana Mongeau and Brooke Schofield didn't just have a friendship. They had a legally incorporated brand that generated millions of dollars in revenue from podcast advertisements, lucrative merchandise drops, and sold-out live tours. The end of Cancelled isn't just the end of a weekly show. It's the complex dissolution of a major financial partnership, with contracts, intellectual property, and significant revenue streams hanging in the balance. Every single player in this drama, from the main protagonists to the supporting cast, has their own brand to protect, their own sponsorships to maintain, and their own career trajectory to carefully consider. The shifting alliances, the public statements, the cryptic tweets, and the subtle digs in their online content. They are all moves that have a direct and immediate impact on their individual bottom lines and their perceived marketability. Brooke's departure forces her to build a new, central platform from scratch, a monumental task even for a creator of her size. Tana, in turn, is left with a massive hole in her content schedule and the challenge of rebranding or replacing her most consistent and profitable project. The betrayal isn't just emotional. It has tangible, far-reaching financial consequences for everyone involved, turning what looks like a personal fallout into a high-stakes corporate restructuring played out for an audience of millions on social media. The dust from this spectacular implosion has yet to fully settle, but one thing has become undeniably clear. The Tana Mongeau empire, as we knew it for the past several years, is over. A new, more volatile world order is taking its place, one built on the rubble of the old regime, with fresh alliances being forged and old loyalties being permanently fractured. This entire saga serves as a brutal, engrossing, and deeply fascinating case study in the life cycle of an influencer friendship group in the modern age. It starkly reveals how quickly camaraderie can curdle into fierce competition when the intoxicating ingredients of fame, money, and individual ambition are added to the mix. The ultimate question is no longer who is friends with whom, but rather a much more cynical one: who will come out on top? As the former partners and friends navigate this new, treacherous battlefield, their every move will continue to be watched and scrutinized by millions. Their story is no longer just personal drama. It has become a living, breathing blueprint for how to build, and, more importantly, how to spectacularly burn an empire in the modern, relentless age of internet fame. The reign is over, and the war for the throne has just begun.